John Boy.
Lessons from the screen, what we mean is we go through different documentaries to tell you what they gon' do. Give you our lessons, give them our blessings. If they trash, we tell you there is no second guessing. Knowledge is power, but time is precious. And we're here to keep you from them lessons. So sit back as we groove, giving you the review, so you only spend time on the docs that you need to.
Welcome back to another episode of Lessons from the Screen. If you ain't noticed, we are now trying to get these to you 2 times a week. But this is the show where we give you a little bit of information about things that you can get through any particular digital medium of any kind that has a screen on it, and we'll let you know whether or not it's worth wasting your time and your energy. We waste our time and our energy and our brain power so that you don't have to. Lessons from the Screen is brought to you by PaxInc through the Freedom Train Network. You can find us at www.freedomtrainradio.com or on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Music, or wherever you choose to get your podcast from. Even if one of those places just so happens to be the Freedom Train Radio app, you can find it in the Google Store, not on iPhones, on iTunes just yet. But you can find it in the Google Store. If you're an Android user, type in Freedom Train Radio. We are in the beta stages. That means we are looking for people that are going to download the app, test it out, and let us know what they think about it. Be sure to head to the website in your favorite podcast place and give us a review. Talk to us. We like those things. And also be sure to check out our sponsors, PaxInc. That's www.pactsinc.org. PaxInc.org to show some love and support for our sponsors. They are doing big things. PaxInc is a black activist and advocacy organization focused on developing the black community through its shift in culture, education, and economics. Lessons from the Screen has a frame of reference that is aligned with the black community. That's the perspective. The things that we look at will be looked at with the racial component involved and with some lessons that can be used to improve the community should you choose to do so. Not all of the lessons, just some of them. During this episode of Lessons from the Screen, we will be looking at the Protect and Serve Act of 2018. We will be looking at what it says. I'm actually going to read it to you verbatim. It's not that long. Relax. We will be talking about why people feel it's needed, whether or not the statistics are there to support whether or not it's really needed, and who voted for it, of course. We will also be talking about what this means for the black community and some of the things we should be doing to continue to prepare and strengthen our community. In this episode of Lessons from the Screen, we will be talking about Protect and Serve. So amidst all the talk about immigration and human rights violations, Congress is always moving forward, both locally and nationally, and they doing some crazy stuff here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm sure they doing some crazy stuff wherever you're at. But with the narrative of police targeting gaining enough steam to basically be cemented as fact in a large portion of the country's mind, there is a bill that just recently passed the House and currently sits in the Senate. This bill will basically make any harm done to police officers a federal hate crime, basically. This marks a distinct shift in civil rights where people are no longer protected because they have been systemically oppressed for biological conditions or reasonings that they have little to no control over. But they are protected for the job they have, despite that job being under no systemic oppression and causing immense harm to communities, and already being one of the most protected jobs in the nation. So I'm not even going to give you a summary or a synopsis of this. I'm just going to read it. It's not very long, but I think it's important that when we're talking about things like this with matters of the law, matters of new precedents, matters of changes, and the way that communities interact with law enforcement and the way that law enforcement interact with communities, it is important to not try to briefly summarize. Everything can't be briefly summarized. Some things just have to be dug into. And this is one of those things, as I think most bills are. But this one is short enough and is definitely qualified. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And this is H.R. 5698. And it passed the House. And it is now in the Senate, has been in the Senate since May 17th, 2018. An act to amend Title 18, the United States Code, to punish criminal offenses targeting law enforcement officers and for other purposes, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the Protect and Serve Act of 2018. Section 2, crimes targeting law enforcement officers. A, in general, Chapter 7 of Title 18, United States Code is amended by adding to the end the following. 120, and there are already 119 items, so this would be the 120th item that's added to Chapter 7, Title 18. Crimes targeting law enforcement officers. A, in general, whoever in any circumstance described in Section B knowingly assaults a law enforcement officer causing serious bodily injury or attempts to do so, 1, shall be imprisoned not more than 10 years, fined in accordance with this title, or both, and 2, shall be imprisoned for any term of years or for life, fined in accordance with this title, or both, if A, death results from the offense, or B, the offense includes kidnapping and or attempt to kidnap or an attempt to kill. So if you harm a cop, then you can get a sentence not more than 10 years and fined, or both. If you harm a cop and that cop loses their life, or they say that you attempted to kill or kidnap the cop, or you actually did kidnap the cop, then you can be imprisoned for life and fined. B, circumstances described. For the purpose of subsection A, the circumstances described in this subparagraph are that 1, conduct described in subsection A occurs during the course of or as a result of the travel of the defendant or the victim, A, across a state line or national border, or B, using a channel, facility, or instrumentality of interstate or foreign commerce. 2, the defendant uses the channel, facility, or instrumentality of interstate or foreign commerce in connection with the conduct described in subsection A. 3, the connection of the conduct described in subsection A, the defendant employs a firearm, dangerous weapon, explosive or incendiary device, or other weapon that has traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. 4, the conduct described in subsection A interferes with commercial or other economic activity in which the victim is engaged at the time of conduct, or B, otherwise affects interstate or foreign commerce, or 5, the victim is a federal law enforcement officer. Certification requirement. 1, in general, no prosecution of any offense described in this section may be undertaken by the United States, except under the certification in writing of the Attorney General or a designee that A, the state does not have jurisdiction, B, the state has requested that the federal government assume jurisdiction, C, the verdict or sentence obtained pursuant to state charges left demonstratively unvindicated the federal interest in protecting the public safety, or D, a prosecution by the United States is in the public interest and necessary to secure substantial justice. 2. Rule of construction. Nothing in this subsection shall be construed to limit the authority of federal officers or a federal grand jury to investigate possible violations of this section. D. Definitions. In this section, 1. Law enforcement officer. The term law enforcement officer means an employee of a government or public agency who is authorized by law, A, to engage in or supervise the prevention, detection, or the investigation of any criminal violation of law, or B, to engage in and supervise the detention or the incarceration of any person for any criminal violation of law. 2. State. The term state means a state of the United States, the District of Columbia, or any commonwealth, territory, or possession of the United States. B. Clerical amendment. The table of sections at the beginning of such chapter is amended by adding at the end the following new item: 120.